From Neural Newscast, this is Nerfed, where games, culture, and strategy intersect.
Nerfed, the global server update. I'm Vanessa Calderon.
And I'm Marcus Shaw. We're tracking some heavy system changes this week, from nuclear lobbies to major leadership resets.
Marcus, if the world were an MMO, the devs would be scrambling right now to balance the power creep before the whole server crashes. First up on the update log, the nuclear meta is getting incredibly spicy. The New York Times is reporting that North Korea's Kim Jong-un is leaning hard into his nuclear stance against the United States, basically refusing to nerf his build before the next expansion hits. He's been seen inspecting major missile facilities and calling for an exponential increase in their nuclear arsenal lately. It's a bold and dangerous play, essentially telling the global community that he's not interested in a fair play agreement or any kind of rollback on his current capabilities. He's locking in his stats and preparing for what looks like a very aggressive endgame strategy that has the neighbors on edge.
Yeah, it's a classic standoff, Vanessa. It feels like every time we think the lobby is stabilizing, a new threat level drops and everyone has to check their gear. At the same time, we're seeing the United States and Iran heading into their third round of nuclear talks, according to reports from NPR. This isn't just a minor technical tweak. It's a high-stakes negotiation over enrichment levels and international monitoring. It's like watching two high-level guilds trying to agree on server rules while everyone else on the server holds their breath, hoping no one accidentally triggers a world-ending event. They're debating over percentages of uranium enrichment like they're arguing over min-maxing gear stats. But the consequences of a failed negotiation are way more permanent than just losing a raid or dropping some loot.
Except the server rules involve actual weapon-grade uranium enrichment, which makes the stakes higher than any game we've ever played. It's high-stakes diplomacy that feels like it's been in early access forever, with no actual roadmap in sight. We've seen these cycles before where both sides agree to a temporary ceasefire or freeze, but the long-term quest line never seems to resolve into a final agreement. The IAEA is trying to act as the moderators here, but they're getting extremely limited access to the logs and the actual data. It makes you wonder if the player base will ever see a stable build of this agreement, or if we're just destined to stay in this perpetual beta of tension, where one wrong move resets all the progress made since the 2015 Accord.
It's all about that launch philosophy, Vanessa. FIFA wants this to be the biggest event ever, a true global spectacle that breaks every record. And they aren't going to let a little thing like local server lag or, organized crime slow down the hype train. They've got massive sponsors lined up and a broadcast deal that spans every continent. To them, the security issues are just bugs that need to be patched before the opening ceremony kicks off. But for the people living there and the fans visiting, these aren't just glitches. They're core gameplay mechanics they have to navigate every single day. FIFA is gambling that their security protocols will be enough to keep the game running without a catastrophic crash or a major incident.
I mean, if the loot boxes are big enough, FIFA will overlook just about any bug in the code. Money talks in this industry, and this tournament is expected to generate record-breaking revenue for everyone involved. But let's shift to a major executive departure that's making waves in the academic world. Harvard's Larry Summers is officially retiring, and it's not exactly the clean exit he might have hoped for. Summers has been a fixture in the economic and academic meta for decades, serving in the Clinton administration and leading one of the world's most prestigious universities through various cycles. But his departure is being shadowed by old files coming to light, which is never the way you want to end a long career in the public eye.
This one is messy. The New York Times notes he's stepping down while the university investigates his ties to the Epstein files. That's a massive legacy hit for someone who's been a lead dev in the academic and economic space for decades. It's wild to see how these legacy players can have their entire history reevaluated based on what's found in the deep archives. Summers has always been a controversial figure, known for his blunt style and polarizing policies. But this is a different kind of controversy altogether. It's the kind of thing that can't just be patched out with a PR statement. It goes deep into the reputation of the institution itself. and raises questions about who gets to lead these high-level guilds.
It's the kind of studio drama that makes you want to check the credits. When the Epstein files start getting cited in your retirement papers, you know your reputation is getting a permanent debuff. Harvard is in an incredibly tough spot here, trying to maintain its prestige while dealing with the fallout of past associations that are coming back to haunt them. It's a reminder that even the most powerful players in the game aren't immune to the consequences of their choices. This retirement feels less like a victory lap and more like a strategic exit before the moderators hand down a permanent ban on his public legacy, effectively wiping his high score from the leaderboard of academic achievements.
Finally, some interesting resource management news out of California that shows how the economic meta is evolving. Farmers in the San Joaquin Valley are reportedly pivoting in a big way. Instead of struggling with water rights for crops that are increasingly difficult to grow in a drought-heavy environment, they're turning their land into massive solar farms. They're basically looking at the environment and realizing that the traditional agriculture build is no longer viable for long-term survival in this patch. So they're respeccing their land to produce energy instead of food. It's a fascinating example of how players adapt to changing environmental conditions to stay profitable and keep their operations running when the old resources dry up.
Honestly, smart play. Why grind for water in a drought-heavy zone when you can just farm the sun? It's a total shift in the local economic meta. It turns out the Golden State title is literal if you have enough solar panels. Right. It shows that the old ways of doing things, relying on heavy irrigation and seasonal harvests, just don't work in the current climate build. By switching to solar, these farmers are securing a much more stable source of loot while also contributing to the state's green energy goals. It's a win-win that shows how necessity can drive some really innovative gameplay changes in the real world, turning a resource disadvantage into a new kind of power generation.
Efficiency is the name of the game, whether you're managing a valley or a global nuclear arsenal. Adaptation is key to staying in the game, and those who can pivot quickly are the ones who thrive while everyone else is still reading the old manuals. That's the patch notes for this week. A lot of high-level shifts and some unexpected changes to the landscape that will have massive ripple effects. We'll be watching to see how these stories develop and what the next update brings for all the players involved in these global systems. There's always another update right around the corner that could change everything we think we know about the current meta.
I am Vanessa Calderon.
And I'm Marcus Shaw.
Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com. Check us out at Nerfed.ai. Thanks for listening to Nerfed.
This has been Nerfed on Neural Newscast, where games, culture, and strategy intersect.